Hello and welcome to the Startup Operator Roundup. I'm Roshan Karyappa.
And I'm Gunjan Saha, and together we break down the biggest headlines of India's growing startup ecosystem.
Gunjan, did you know what was the number one top trending podcast last week?
Oh, that was hard to miss. It was none other than the Startup Operator. Man, it was really great seeing that we were number one trending on Chartable, and Chartable accumulates podcasts from across platforms.
Yeah.
And it was good to see us right up there.
Amazing. We beat devotional content, horror, romance, some other shady stuff as well, right? Which is usually popular on audio platforms. Go figure. But it was awesome to see that startup content figured number one. Right. Thank you so much for your support, guys. And don't forget to subscribe, share, do all of the good stuff.
If this is the first time you're tuning into the channel, do check us out, for we have some amazing conversations with founders, operators, and investors from the ecosystem. They have some really valuable nuggets of wisdom. I'm sure you're going to like them. So let's kickstart this roundup with the key takeaways from the recently concluded Global FinTech Festival in Mumbai.
Wow. So I think 80,000 people attended the event, right?
85,000 people.
Amazing. I heard it was super crowded. And
it was a swarm of people, but I was fortunate enough to watch the Prime Minister's address in the event, along with Mr. Piyush Goyal's address as to what the future of FinTech looks like in India.
So Gunjan has got that name right after 14 attempts, I think. We went through all kinds of names, Goyal, Bansal, right? Anyway.
Okay, more in the blooper reel. Then last week, Time also released the annual list of 100 most influential people in AI. While it includes your regular names like Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, Sam Altman, there's one
also
name
has
that really stood out.
My name is Lakan. My name is Lakan.
Yeah, Anil Kapoor was featured in the list. Can you imagine?
Dude, I mean...
But I did some digging, what was his right to be on the list? And okay, that is some really great reasons as to why. So stay tuned, we'll talk about that. Then the CEO of Telegram, the messaging app, Pavel Durov, was arrested.
Pavel Durov. Okay, this is what we've been dealing with for the last 20 minutes, but go on.
Pavel Durov was arrested when he landed at Paris airport on August 24th, 2024. He was returning from Azerbaijan, and this whole incident kind of sets precedence for what it's like to be a tech founder.
Yeah, got betrayed by a baddie from what I hear.
Insurance Dekho has launched a brand new SaaS platform in India to streamline operations for insurance distributors. Well, you have worked in the insurance distribution space for a while.
I thought you were going to say you've been an insurance agent. Well,
have you?
I've not come on such times yet, but
okay.
It is pretty interesting, right? I mean, we have what LIC itself, I think, has about 10 lakh agents or maybe more, right? And this it is one of the top financial services jobs, right, for most people in India. So amazing. I mean, anything that can optimize distribution, streamline all of this is fantastic.
Yeah. Also, along the lines of FinTech and InsurTech, we have a list of FinTech startups that are soon expected to go public. We'll do a quick rundown of that. And talking about public markets, one of the early angel investors in Nykaa has bagged a 160x return multiple on a $4 million investment.
Wow.
You calculate how much money that is.
Should find the person and get a party, right? I mean, we never get parties, guys. Come on. No Flipkart party, no Swiggy party, no anything party. I mean, at least let's pitch to the angel investor. But speaking of public markets again, right? Sorry to use your segue, but I was my mind was blown looking at the number of startups we're looking at in the next 18 months or couple of years, right? The number you can guess right now, and we'll tell you if you're right in that section. Yeah.
Along with that, we have some really interesting fundraise announcements and a very exciting talk of the town section. So make sure you stay with us right till the end. This is going to be a fascinating conversation.
Yeah. We're going to go full founder mode.
All right, so let's start off with Global FinTech Festival. This was held from August 28th to 30th in Jio Convention Center in Mumbai. And fun fact here, Jio does not work in Jio Convention Center. There were a lot of product announcements, I think over 100 of them. And I think few stood out to me quite a bit. NPCI has been busy. in one of our earlier roundups, we talked about the UPI circle, which allows to delegate your payment accounts to your friends and family. But along with that, I think the highlight was the launch of the Bharat Bill Pay system. Now, unlike the traditional BBPS, which you all used to pay your credit card and utility bills, now this model is going to get expanded across businesses in India. So you don't have to keep chasing for invoices. It's all going to be automated with tech.
Amazing. So I saw a tweet by Amrish, who's the Pine Lab CEO, saying that, Global FinTech Festival is where all the fintechs gather with super excitement and then realize that NPCI has built everything.
Yeah. Well, along with that, you also had Zoho that launched a B2B payment solution. Then Visa has partnered with HDFC and Paytm to launch new sound boxes and NFC-enabled devices. Razorpay has had something really interesting. They introduced a biometric card authentication, which enhances security of online transactions. Along with that, Pine Labs also had a host of new announcements. Something really exciting is coming up on the UPI front in the next few months. So keep an eye out.
Stop plugging it. But Zoho, man, I mean, god damn it. I mean, I think they have like 50 plus products or something, right? Yeah. I mean, it's insane, maybe more. I'm always blown away by companies of that size, right? Zoho is perhaps doing $1 billion in revenue right now, right? That continue to ship product, right? Because I mean, scale is just like, efficiency is inversely proportional to scale, right? And to get anything done in a large corporation, a company, I mean, is super difficult. So again, props to these folks, right? I mean, Figma, Zoho, Shopify to a degree, right? All of these folks, I mean, are furiously shipping away. I mean, it's a great inspiration for startups. I mean, if Zoho can, why can't you?
I think that's also one of the biggest advantage which any startup would have over, let's say, like a Google or a Meta, right? Is the pace at which you can
absolutely, you have nothing to lose, right? I mean, you have absolutely nothing to lose. You can decide to do things a different way on a whim, right? There are no boards and committees and consensus building and stuff like that, right? I mean, people, or rather, I mean, I myself underestimated how difficult it is to get stuff done as you scale, right? I mean, it's just so much more difficult. Yeah.
Always be on founders mode.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Also, last week, Time Magazine released its annual Time 100 AI list, which features influential leaders across domains from technology, entertainment, and policy who are shaping the future of artificial intelligence. Now, of course, the list has called out some regular names like Satya Nadella, Sam Altman, Sundar Pichai, and
was Sam Altman on the list?
Oh yeah,
he was there. Okay. I mean,
but guess who was also there on the list?
My name is Lakan.
Yes, Anil Kapoor was also featured in the list, and when I came across this news, I had no idea like what was his contributions to AI. But upon digging, I realized that he has been featured due to his significant legal victory concerning the unauthorized use of his likeness in artificial intelligence applications. He has challenged the unauthorized use of his image in various AI-generated content, such as distorted videos and GIFs. And this legal battle highlighted the growing concerns around the misuse of personal likeness in the AI space. Now, while AI is all cool and shiny right now, but he touched upon a really important topic. Like, imagine there's a video of you doing whatnot circulating online.
Hey. Shubh bolo.
No ideas.
So at first, when I heard this whole news about Anil Kapoor featuring Time Magazine's AI 100, I thought it's one of those random news items like Shraddha Kapoor talking about AI in banking or something like that, or connected services or something. But this is significant. This is one of those things that will get more and more prevalent. The use of people's likeliness in these videos and whatnot. I mean, we've all seen, random videos of Elon and Trump and Kamala Harris and, Prime Minister Modi and so on our Twitter timelines or X timelines. I mean, it's something to think about for sure, right? And Mr. Lakan makes his way to the Time 100 list. Amazing.
I think it's something about the Kapoors and AI.
Yeah, I mean, this guy doesn't age, man. I mean, he still looks the same. He looks 35. I mean, I think he was born 35, basically, I think. Wow. It's crazy. But speaking of random shit, right? Yesterday, I mean, I got to know that Daniel Day-Lewis retired to become a cobbler. Huh? Yeah. He studied shoemaking in Italy. Imagine having a couple of Oscars and than going and becoming like a full-time craftsman, right? I mean, amazing.
No. Do you have any such plans?
I want to become a carpenter. No
Yeah,
kidding. I just want to take up
cool.
like wood carving and stuff like that. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, let's get back.
Let's continue. Yeah. Pavel Durov, the CEO of Telegram, he was arrested in France as part of an investigation into alleged criminal activities associated with the platform. He was detained on August 24, 2024, after he arrived from Azerbaijan. The arrest globally has sparked a lot of political backlash, particularly in Russia, where officials have labeled it as politically motivated. Telegram responded by asserting its compliance with EU regulations and ongoing efforts to improve content moderation, and they have completely rejected accountability for third-party misuse of its platform. Now, this is a growing concern. Like a tech CEO that runs a social media platform, can he or she be held liable for the content on the platform which other people are posting?
Well, they have to act in a legal manner, obviously, right? Look, I mean, there's this whole freedom of speech debate, which is separate from the fact that you have to be, you have to abide by the rules of the land, right? Wherever you choose to operate, that is. So obviously, I mean, child pornography and abuse and so on and so forth is outside the law, right? And if Telegram was summoned to explain some of this stuff and they didn't do enough, then I can understand, right? Obviously, some of these platforms can't act like supranational entities and be like above the rule of law as such, right? But there's just more to it. I think there was one hypothesis I was reading that apparently Telegram app is the most favored among folks in Russian folks in the war, right? And they've been able to communicate, and that is somehow pissing off NATO. And then there's another theory that apparently Telegram has been hurting France's military operations in Africa and so on, right? So, I mean, there's just so many theories, guys. I mean, apparently the girl or his girlfriend supposedly has sort of outed him, right, with the sharing his location and whatnot. And apparently also I've used apparently 4 times now because all of these are theories, right? We don't know. Emmanuel Macron invited him for dinner and had him arrested. Like, what a guy, man. What a guy. Anyway, so there's just a lot of theories here. And I would encourage everyone to check out that interview of Elon Musk with Don Lemon, right, who's a prominent, anchor in the US, right? And they speak about this particular aspect, which is censorship and so on. And Elon basically corners Don Lemon, right, on the fact that, when you talk about responsible speech and so on and so forth, right, I mean, you're essentially somehow vouching for censorship, right? Because freedom of speech doesn't count unless there is freedom to talk about things you don't like from people who you don't like, basically, right? I mean, otherwise, I mean, it's just an echo chamber, really. But all of this aside, I mean, it should operate in a legal framework, right? If something is outside of the law, I don't think it can be tolerated. So, yeah, I don't know what's happening at this point. I mean, I don't know if he's out. I'm sure his lawyers have appealed and so on. There's another connection, right? Which is, I mean, the fifth apparently, right? Which is that UAE has cancelled a $4 billion military purchase from France, right?
As a result of this.
So again, Pavel is close to the UAE Crown Prince's, one of the sons, I suppose, right? And so, yeah, he got the top honchos in the UAE government to do that, is one theory, right? And he's a citizen of UAE as well, right? So I think he holds multiple citizenships: France, UAE, something else as well. Yeah.
Mr. Worldwide. But so Mr.
There can
Pavel
only
also
be one Mr. Worldwide.
of course.
Yeah.
Pavel also tweeted, right? I think as he put out a statement on Twitter, he said that the EU authorities were not really coordinating with Telegram regulatory departments, and this arrest came as an absolute surprise.
I don't trust the EU one bit, right? I mean, they're just shady guys, man. These bunch of folks in Brussels who sit and dictate terms. I mean, we've seen some of these guys post on Twitter and threaten Elon and stuff, right? I mean, yeah, who takes these guys seriously?
Okay. But anyway, this challenges the safe harbor protections which tech CEOs enjoy for against user-generated content. But I think this will be
it's no longer user generated. You can't hide behind the thing called user generated content anymore, right? I mean, see, we've discussed this. We're long past the time where these platforms can act like platforms. They become publishers now, right? And there's a long precedence for that. So they will end up taking responsibility for the content on their platforms, irrespective, right? So they can't hide behind that veil anymore.
Okay, let's come closer home. Insurance Dekho has launched a new SaaS platform named HEP, which is designed to streamline operations for insurance distribution in India. HEP is built around 4 core modules: D2C, point of sale persons, lending, and embedded insurance. As a result, all of this enables businesses to efficiently build and manage customized insurance offerings. Currently, it is integrating with 49 insurers and provides access to over 650 insurance products across various categories. Now, both of us have worked, in a company which sells to the insurance sector to help them drive distribution, and we know insurance is severely underpenetrated in the country.
Yeah.
Now, Insurance Dekho is one of the largest, insurance distribution entities in the country, and this SaaS platform just kind of democratizes the playbooks they had.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. See, nobody wakes up one day and decides that they need insurance, right? It's not an impulse purchase. And mostly insurance is sold, right? Not bought. And, I mean, vehicle insurance obviously is mandatory. Health insurance has grown in prominence post-COVID, for sure. People have realized that it's essential. But things like life insurance and so on, right? I mean, it's still not as popular, right? And it reflects in the penetration numbers as well. So anything that kind of optimizes distribution is a plus one for the ecosystem, right? Even the IRDAI keeps talking about penetration, right? Insurance penetration, and that's the number one goal for them. So yeah, I mean, this is helpful for sure, and even from an independent agent or an agency perspective as well, right? I mean, long before there were, this whole gig workers, gig economy, and so on and so forth, insurance agents were the original version of that, right? So anything that makes life easier, simpler for them is good, because from their perspective as well, right? I mean, now if you are an agent and you've sold a policy, you are that one throat to choke for the customer, right? And oftentimes we've realized that they don't have all of the information required to kind of support the customer, either in terms of what is the best products for them, or even in terms of, let's say, claims, so on and so forth, right? So anything that kind of streamlines this whole thing and gives them the information at their fingertips is helpful for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think a lot more innovation needs to happen on the distribution front.
Yeah.
Right? Like one brilliant example which I can think of is the partnership between Acco and Ola.
Yeah.
Imagine a 1 rupee insurance that insures your cab ride.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the kind of scale they witnessed just because of that was massive.
Yeah. Acco's partnership with, these rideshare platforms, right? Ola. I think they have a partnership with OYO also. I'm not sure. Okay. It's fantastic. It's good. It's good for the industry as overall, and this phenomenon of embedded insurance, right, which is the kinds you referenced, which is that I'm going on a ride and I buy this insurance at that point. I think that will become a lot more prominent, right? You're going to have this sachet-sized, bite-sized sort of insurance for various activities. Travel insurance we're used to anyway, but I think we'll see other types evolve. Yeah.
Like buy a expensive Samsung phone, get an insurance for that.
Yeah, it happens.
Cool. Talking about insurtechs, fintechs, and whatnot, we have a list of IPO candidates in this industry that are expected to go IPO in the next couple of years. This is across domains of payment, lending tech, fintech infra, insurtech, wealth tech, and others. And some of the prominent companies we have on the list are PhonePe, Pine Labs, Razorpay, PayU, Bank Bazaar, Perfios, Zopper, Insurance Dekho, Upstocks, Open, One, Zolve, and whatnot.
Yeah.
How many companies would you bet on?
Well, we did ask you how many companies you think would go IPO. The answer is close to 50.
50, yeah.
Right? Which is, again, a fantastic number, really, to think about it. I saw this tweet that a VC had posted on X that, earlier it used to be that people would say that, hey, we'll raise from someone else. But now the threat is the founder says that we'll go IPO, right?
100 crore business, right? Threatening that we'll go IPO.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's really amazing. People have kind of woken up to the fact that their retail investors are hungry for startup investments, right? So this is awesome. In fact, I mean, we'll be hosting the founders of Infinite Club, Joy and Ankita, on the podcast shortly. They're democratizing alternate investments, which include startup investing, to a wider base of folks. So who knows? I mean, you could be that Nika angel who made 160x return, right? Who knows? Of course, none of this is financial advice.
Okay, thanks for the brilliant segue. Harinder Pal Singh Bagga, also known as Harry Bagga, he's the founder, chairman, CEO of the Caravelle Group. He's setting records in the startup ecosystem with his Nika Angel Round investments. He made a significant investment in Nika in 2014 angel funding round, and he contributed a majority stake in the 20 crore fundraise they had at a 120 crore valuation. Of course, his office has taken part in subsequent more investments, which was total of around $4 million. To date, he has realized $240 million in cash exits, and his remaining stake is valued at $380 million.
Tremendous.
This is a 160x return on investment. Man, like $4 million into 160, how much is that?
Crazy.
Some really big number. What would you do with that much money? How would you spend it? Like, let's say you win a $500 million lottery. What will you do?
I don't know. 500 million seems like a arbitrarily large number, right? But this is amazing, right? Look, I mean, with angel investing, we often hear of these cases, right? Someone made 160x, someone made like 50x, and so on and so forth. And a lot of people are tempted to sort of become angels as well. But it's absolutely like it's got the worst of the worst power loss, right?
Yeah.
Literally 90% of your investments will go to shit, right? And the remaining 10% don't expect the exorbitant returns that we're talking about, 160x and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, as platforms evolve that make you invest in these startups for 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 4 lakhs and whatnot, right? You also have to have that understanding that this is an extreme power law game.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I think that average is around 20-30%, or maybe more.
What?
The average return you get on your portfolio.
The average return, well, I mean, it really depends, right? I mean, because you cannot talk averages when the data points are all over the place, right? I mean, it's crazy. It's really crazy. Like, I'm sure Mr. Harry Bagga would have invested in 50 or 100 startups, right? And one of those made this 160x kind of a return, right? It very, very, very rarely, almost never happens that you invest in 1 or like 5 and then you make this kind of return, right? I mean, it absolutely doesn't. You also have to have that kind of deal flow that you're able to get into some of these lucrative deals, right? And have the capital to sort of double down as well, right? I am sure that he didn't invest 4 million at once, right? He had to invest it in subsequent rounds and so on. So hats off to him. I mean, he had the sort of conviction to double down as well, right? So yeah, angel investing is looks lucrative, but I mean, it's actually hard business. It's really, really hard. Yeah, do your
very
diligence
few people
before.
has really hit it out of the park when it comes to angel investing, right? There is the co-founders of Snapdeal, Kunal Bal and Rohit Bansal's bet on Urban Company and Mama Earth. Then InfoEdge's investment in Zomato, but majority of them go for a loss.
Yeah, InfoEdge is amazing, right? I mean, even if you look at like Zomato, Insurance Dekho, a bunch of others, right? I mean, a few of them have gone on to become IPOs also, right? So yeah, fantastic stuff.
With this, let's move on to some of the interesting fundraisers of the week. Rapido has officially entered the Unicorn Club. They raised $200 million in its Series E round at a valuation of $1.1 billion. This round was led by Westbridge Capital with participation from new investors like Think Investments and Inverse Opportunities, along with their existing investor Nexus Venture Partners. Now, Rapido has seen like really tremendous scale. I think now they're averaging around 2.5 million rides in the country. And this is giving stiff competition to the likes of Olas and Ubers.
Yeah.
And what really sets Rapido apart is the innovative ways they're experimenting on driver payouts. I think that is one of the key reasons for their success.
Yeah. See, this is one of those, I think Peter Thiel had this concept of come in last and capture the market or something of that sort, right? So Rapido was not the first to the market, and they've come in at a time when clearly Ola and Uber have sort of tapered off, right, in terms of what innovation they can do and how much market growth they can have. And Rapido has done tremendously well. For a time, I mean, they were like a distant cousin to these platforms, and now, I mean, everyone seems to have the Rapido app, right, if not the Namayatri as well. So yeah, ties to an interesting point I was making with someone today that I was talking to, right, that um, somebody's churn can be your entire business, if you think about it, right? Software especially, I mean, gets super commoditized very quickly. And we often worry about, hey, I'm going to build this, it's a market with so much churn, so on and so forth. Now, unless you are a 10 million, 50 million dollar incumbent in that market, even if you are a 50 million incumbent, you can benefit greatly from the churn from a conventional company in that space, right? A legacy company. If you look at some of these larger success stories, right? Whatfix, for example, benefited tremendously from churn from what is it, WalkMe, right?
Even
likewise,
think of Salesforce churn, right? How many companies have benefited from Salesforce?
I think multi-$100 million companies are made out of Salesforce churn. So yeah, I don't think you should worry too much about that when you're getting into the market, right? I mean, that's a huge opportunity as well for you. I've seen a few folks, I mean, one person in the sales enablement space do really well on high spot churn, right? So yeah, something to think about.
Yeah. Another interesting fundraise from the week was Zepto's $340 million round.
Good God.
They are valued at $5 billion. But throughout 2024, Zepto has raised over $1 billion in funding. Now, of course, I had my doubts as to, hey, if you're burning so much cash, like, why are you trying to raise more? And like, what is really giving Zepto the edge over the likes of, Swiggy, Instamart, or a Blinkit? But then I learned that 70% of Zepto's dark stores are now fully EBITDA positive. And I think that's a pretty remarkable feat.
Yeah, I mean, look at the kind of metrics we're now looking at, right? I mean, we're past the time where we're talking about GMV and so on. I mean, I heard Adit talk about free cash flow and stuff, right? I mean, free cash flow, it's not stuff that you hear startups talk about, right? Yeah. But that's the amazing thing about having a downturn, right? I mean, you go back to the basics and you think through all of these very stringent sort of metrics, right? From a business health perspective. Zepto has done tremendously well. They went to $5 billion from a 3-point-something billion in the matter of 2-3 months, right? And apparently they've grown about 20% or so in the 2 months itself, right? And at their scale, I mean, that's tremendous growth. They're opening up in all kinds of places. Nashik, for example, and they went to 1,000 orders in less than 2 weeks or so, right? So yeah, amazing, man. Zepto seems to be kicking ass.
Okay, we have some really big fundraiser announcement coming up, but before that, let's do a quick roundup of the other fundraisers. Specialty coffee chain Blue Tokai has raised $35 million from Verlin Invest, Anicut Capital, and A91 Partners. Sunshore Energy raised 226 crore rupees or $27 million from Tata Capital. Justo Real FinTech raised $7 million from Arbor Investments, and sports nutrition retailer Nutrabar raised $5 million from RPSG Capital Ventures and Kotak Alternate Asset Managers. But the biggest headlines in the fundraise space was taken by none other than SSI. And this is a startup started by Ilyas Sutskever, who was part of the OpenAI team. This AI startup has raised $1 billion at a $5 billion valuation. And if you think this number is crazy, well, they don't have a product yet. They are 4-5 months old and they're still in the process of building their team. So $1 billion.
So that's essentially $1 billion seed round, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's insane, right?
There's that line in The Social Network, right, where who's that? Justin Timberlake's character says, "You know what's cooler than $1 million? $1
billion.
Exactly, right?
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool? You. $1 billion. I
mean, it kind of sounds like that. But look, I mean, Ilyas Sutskever was, one of the brains or the brains behind OpenAI, right? I mean, the guy is like a legit genius. And look, man, I mean, in the AI world that we're living in, I think all numbers are like, we'll have to revisit all of these, right? what's $1 billion when there's like 100 billion or maybe more, like 500 billion on the table, right? So that's really how we have to think about it because of the wide scale impact that something like this can have, right? And at this point, I mean, it's not just your average VC fund that's sort of investing in these guys. I mean, there are all kinds of people, right? I mean, hedge funds and sovereign funds and so on and so forth directly investing in this kind of stuff, right? Because VC activity on the whole in the world of finance itself is like a tiny thing. It's probably about 5% or so, right? So yeah, I mean, this is fantastic stuff, and really looking forward to what these folks end up building. And I hope it is safe, if not super intelligent.
Wait, the definition of safe over here and even super intelligent is kind of vague. But I think what will be really critical for the SSI team is to manage the expectations that these markets have from them.
Yeah.
Right? But also this $1 billion number kind of pales in comparison, because if you remember a few months back, Sam Altman, in one of the interviews said that he's planning to raise $5 trillion to scale AI. And man, I can't even imagine what $5 trillion would look like.
You know what's cooler than $1 billion?
$1 trillion. But it's insane, man.
Yeah. Interestingly, on the Time magazine AI 100, guess the two names that are missing.
What?
Elon and Ilya. Yeah. I mean, think about it, right? Elon missing from the AI 100 is absurd, right? It also tells you like how these magazines are just so dated. They're so redundant. I mean, like really redundant.
This is as good as like winning a, I don't know, India BAFTA. Not India BAFTA, India Filmfare Award or something. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the talk of the town section. Let's start with something interesting by talking about OnlyFans. You're familiar with the platform, Roshan?
Gunjan's favorite.
Of course.
Are you on OnlyFans? Hey, you never know, man. With all this side gig and hustle culture, who knows?
Wait. Let's get to the kicker. OnlyFans generated around $6.6 billion in payments, $1.3 billion in revenue, and $658 million in profits before tax in 2023. Wow. This is bigger and better run company that 99.99999% of VC-backed hyper-growth startups don't achieve.
I mean, what can I say? They've just hit that product market fit, right? I mean, no pun intended, I mean, those numbers are crazy. Those numbers are crazy. And I mean, I weep from a from a societal perspective that this is the most popular, but it's always been the case, right? I mean,
it's the oldest.
Yeah, exactly, right? But yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, like I saw this tweet by someone that says, forget about AI. OnlyFans did it with ASS. Right? So, I mean, those numbers are crazy. Those numbers are absolutely crazy. And I don't know. I mean, these are insane times that we're living in, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But then even closer home, we have Boldcare. Right? I mean, of course, Boldcare did it rounds with the whole Ranveer Singh and Johnny Sins film. But Rahul Krishnan, who's the co-founder of Boldcare, on Twitter, he went on to disclose his credit card number, the expiration date, and the CVV number, and asked people to make purchases, right? Of course, within $1,000. And when people asked for the OTP online on the Twitter thread, he actually disclosed it. Now, I don't know what to call this, Mark. Is it genius? Is it what? Or is it just for virality? I don't know.
I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, so I think he ended up spending about 4 or 5 lakhs. And I don't know how many million impressions that tweet got. 2.4 million at last count, apparently. And he got 15,000 subscribers or something or followers on Twitter. Now, I don't know how much that will translate to, orders on Boldcare per se, right? But think of it as a branding exercise. I mean, the guy is forever going to be remembered as the fellow who shared his credit card details publicly, right? So, yeah.
I doubt. I mean, so I have my reservations. Right?
We might have him on the podcast, so we'll point that question to him, right? So, before
virality versus shelf life, right? I think that is something which I'm particularly interested in. Like, viral content is great. Like, people are talking about it. But do people really remember it? Is what I want to.
You spoke about the Johnny Sins ad with Ranveer Shah, Ranveer Singh. Who's that guy, man? Ranveer Singh. Ranveer Singh sometime back, right? That came out, I think, maybe like 3-4 months back. You're still talking about it, and then you're going to be talking about this credit card thing for another 3-4 months, let's say, or maybe a couple of months, right? I mean, it gives.
But is that making me want to check out Boldcare?
I mean, he does this often enough. I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? Okay. One of those lonely nights, you might just like.
Well, then I would definitely not need Boldcare, but something else. OnlyFans.
Well, to each his own. I did talk about societal impact and so on. So,
okay, let's come back. We have a great roundup on some of the latest offerings in consumer tech, right? Let's go through them. We have this headband, which apparently is a new way of treating ADHD. We have an AI-powered dumbbell set that automatically tracks your reps and workouts and your calorie burn. We have a tablet which has the e-ink technology, makes it feel like you're writing on paper. We have an AI-powered drone that follows you wherever you go and whatnot, right? And these consumer products are really blurring the lines between, consumer software and hardware. And it's insane, man, like what the next 5-7 years down the line could really look like.
This is a very good thread by this person, right?
Ritvik Pavan.
Yeah.
He writes regularly on consumer.
Yeah, I think you guys should definitely go check it out and perhaps follow him as well. It's a good bunch of products that he's listed out. I'm really waiting for that one killer consumer tech product that all of us are going to start like raving about. I thought it was going to be that Apple Vision Pro. It's kind of tapered off. I think
it's tapered off, but I mean that's the usual case of AR VR. But talking about Vision Pro, right? I'm really surprised why the Meta Ray-Ban collaboration is not seeing the kind of popularity we hoped it would have, because that has some real practical life use cases. But
I'm sure.
Well, if anyone of you has a Meta-powered Ray-Ban, please send it. Would love to review it on the podcast. And then also talking about hardware, there's this company called Neo, and they have a robot that replaces your household help.
This was freaky actually.
Yeah, take a look at this video.
I mean, they have like clothing for these robots now. So, jeez.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Imagine you wake up and there's a robot standing in front of you with a call.
Yeah.
What would be really amazing? Like, get one of these robots. And of course, it has a display for a face, right? Put another on his face on it. Adoption would go up.
Wait, before you get into your other fantasies, let's cover the other topics.
Okay, yeah, enough of jokes. We also got this video by the CEO of Shopify, Toby Lutke. He explains what the VCs who passed on Shopify got wrong. We'll let you take a look at the video for yourself.
I was in Santa Road pitching, like 2008, 9, something like this. And I was with some VCs, and they were seriously looking at the company, but ended up not investing. And the reason they gave me is because they thought the addressable market was too small for online stores. They said at this point there was about 40, 50,000 online stores. And so if you would get 50% of that, that would still not be a big enough business. And I actually met with a partner, same partner recently, a couple years ago. And he asked me, like, what did we miss there? And I pointed out saying, no, you had it right. Like you're actually correct. What you didn't realize is Shopify was a solution to the very problem that you identified. There was only, the reason why there was only 40,000 online stores is because it was hard, expensive, and everyone who tried ran into all these brick walls of complexity, which then Shopify once after another smoothed over, made it simple to do. What a lot of sort of free market thinkers don't understand is that between the demand and eventual supply lies friction. I actually think that friction is probably the most potent force for shaping the planet that people just generally not acknowledge. When politicians talk about, hey, we need more, entrepreneurs are amazing, we need more of it, usually the solution is like some kind of incentive package, right? Funding, some accelerators. Obviously, it's not bad. It's just the problem is they try to increase the demand side. I think the demand side is already so big.
Yeah.
The friction in the middle is the problem. So, and that was my theory. Again, when I turned my snowboard story to Shopify, there was a lot of more people like me, except there was too much friction, which we needed to solve. And so Shopify has proven out every single time we make the process simpler, of setting up these malls, there's more consumption. At this point, we have 1 million merchants on Shopify, which is like a mind-blowing number. So friction is a major component. I think it's something that software is uniquely good at reducing the friction, and so.
Crazy. So what he's essentially talking about is, maybe to push a product, you don't necessarily need to create more demand for it, but rather how can you make it much more easier for the demand side to get access to supply? How do you remove the friction between supply and demand?
See, there is this thought, or there was this thought that was super relevant maybe like 20, 25 years back, which was the whole build it and they will come, right? You build something and then enough people will kind of aggregate and so on. And this was at a time when, software itself was very nascent. There were not many viral networks and so on and so forth. So if you build something significant, people would notice somehow, right? I mean, it just like pure word of mouth and so on, right? You didn't have to engineer virality. And that whole build it and they will come sort of a phase got replaced by this entirely lean startup mode of working where, you do customer research, you ask people what they want, etc., and then you build something and then you scale it. And the late stage effect of that lean startup mentality has been to just over engineer on growth and not so much focus on product, right? So whether it is, and it's not just VCs, right? I mean, you talk to any, not even a founder, you talk to any product person, I mean, the person will ask you like 100 questions about business, and which is fine. But then at the end of the day, you'll feel like, dude, let's just build, right? I think that's what I kind of relate to with Toby's story, right? Which is that when he spoke to those VCs and they said that, nothing has been done before, or it's a small market and so on and so forth, right? I mean, yeah, they didn't have that seamless option that, Shopify provides for them to have adoption, right? And markets grow, man. Markets grow and compound, right? I mean, Viva was a small business. Okta was a small business. Heck, Salesforce at some point of time was valued at some $2 billion, so on and so forth, right? And all these businesses have grown tremendously. Salesforce today has $30 billion revenue, which is pretty damn insane, right? So yeah, don't give up on the conviction, right? I mean, if you think that there is an underserved need in the market and you are building a 10x solution, I think you should just back yourself. Yeah. Speaking of,
in this conversation you've seen both Roshan and I reference to something called the founder mode. That came from interesting essay which Paul Graham wrote. This is a summary of his conversation with Brian Chesky, the co-founder of Airbnb, where he talks about the difference of being in a founder mode versus being in a manager mode. Roshan, you want to explain what that means?
Yeah, this was a great essay, and also I'm looking forward to maybe getting a video of Brian Chesky's actual talk at this event that Paul talks about, right? Look, I think for a while, startup building became about, okay, the founder does the 0 to 1, and then you hire all of these execs to run independent functions, and the founder just manages these execs, right? And maybe manages investors, maybe has a product vision and so on, right? I mean, this is a very hands-off kind of an approach, and it made sense to an extent because obviously, things are scaling. And if you're in that hyper-growth mode, you cannot be micromanaging everything. You can't be that single point of failure for all of the activities in the startup, so on and so forth. But again, I mean, there are some things that only a founder knows and can do as well, right? Yeah. Nobody can bulldoze a decision like a founder can, right? Nobody has that deep insight about the product and market like the founder can, forever and forever. Right? I'm sure even now, Mark Benioff, after like 20, 25 years of running Salesforce, will still have the deepest insight about Salesforce's product and market than perhaps someone else.
True.
Right? All things weighed. So I think founder mode is a clarion call for the founder to drive the day-to-day operations of a business, even at scale. Mm-hmm. Okay. And this is something that, Brian Chesky has pioneered at Airbnb, and they've done phenomenally well. Right. I mean, I quote-tweeted this and said that Indian businesses forever and forever have existed in this founder mode itself, right? It's not uncommon to see a large Indian conglomerate where, the founder, CEO, chairman is kind of calling the shots. And I gave this example of Reliance, right? So 97, 98, the Reliance plant in Jamnagar is being commissioned. And, by that time, Dhirubhai had retired, right? I mean, Dhirubhai was around 65 years at that time. He had retired maybe like 10, 12 years before that. He was like an honorary chairman for the group. And, so Mukesh Ambani and Anil Ambani are, driving things. They get the world's best civil engineers, all kind of construction experts, so on and so forth, to present a plan. And the plan makes an allowance for an earthquake level of 6 on the Richter scale. Gujarat before that had never had an earthquake higher than a 5.7, right? That was the highest for about 100 years or so. So they said, okay, you know what? Let's keep it at a 6, right? This seems safe enough. And they take it to Dhirubhai, and Dhirubhai, in all his wisdom, looks at it and says, no, make it tolerant to an earthquake level of Richter 8, right? And obviously both the brothers are, a bit surprised and frustrated, and they protest. And they say that, look, I mean, it's going to cost us a few tens of thousands of crores, or at least few thousands of crores to sort of do this. Why do we need this, right? And Dhirubhai says, no, make it resistant to an earthquake level of, 8 on the Richter scale. 2001, Bhuj happens, the Bhuj earthquake. And, I'm old enough to remember the kind of destruction that it left. It was a 6.7 on the Richter scale, right? Or perhaps more. And while all structures crumbled, the Reliance plant was the only one standing.
Damn.
Okay.
You can't replace wisdom.
You can't
with
replace
data
that kind of
or
wisdom.
anything.
You can't. You just can't. That founder intuition is unparalleled. It's absolutely unparalleled, right? So this is more or less how most of the Indian businesses kind of exist today. And oftentimes the Valley will kind of articulate what we've always been doing, right? They'll give it a new nice name, a more brand friendly name, and that's good. I mean, I'm not knocking on them for this stuff, right? I mean, I think it's good, right? Because it codifies all of this stuff into best practices and benchmarks, and things that maybe like a younger generation can relate to. Do check out that thread that I made on this. I mean, we'll link to it in the description. But yeah, founder mode Zindabad. A lot of operators are rightly worried, thinking that the founders will get in on their business. But hey, I mean, I don't think the founder mode is restricted only to founders per se, right? Correct, I mean, if you function as a founder and if you've thought through every aspect of what you're doing, and you have, at least you act like you have the most skin in the game, well, you don't really need the title to act like the founder.
Damn. All right, I think that's a great note to end this conversation. It's really fascinating. Do let us know in the comments what you really liked in this conversation, and thank you for staying with us right till the end. If you have done so, do give a thumbs up to this video, share this with your friends and family, spread the word, rate this episode on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us. And we'll be back again with more exciting content, conversations in the days to come. Keep sending us your feedback. We are trying to improve as to the best as we can. And see you again next week with more exciting updates from India's startup ecosystem.
Wait. Let us know who you want to feature on the podcast as well. Could be founders, operators. We're particularly biased a bit towards the deep tech and manufacturing side as of now. So let us know if there are founders that we should talk to in that domain. And look, I know last week was an aberration. I don't think we'll beat devotional content or music and horror anytime soon, or romance. But we'd love for it to happen again. So if you're listening to it on an audio platform, don't forget to rate and review, and also share it with your friends. So on that note, thank you so much for joining us, and see you soon. Bye.
Have a great week, guys. Bye-bye.